Still in Psalm 1. I want to go back to two phrases that we've talked about, and the reason is because I want to. And the phrases are uh, that it talks about the believer, the one who rejects the lifestyle and patterns and habits of the wicked and the sinner and the mocker. They are like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season. I talked a lot about the seasonal aspects of life. I, and believe it or not, there's much more to be said about that. And I want to just say this much more by taking us to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Solomon, he wrote Ecclesiastes later in his life, not on his deathbed, but he, most of his observations in Ecclesiastes are on reflection of his experience with life. And oh my goodness, boy, did he have experience. Ecclesiastes 3, it's worth reading the whole thing. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Boy, I think he pretty much covers it, right? And when I step back and I look at just the literary structure of these first 8 verses of Ecclesiastes 3, what I get is the contrast of opposites, right? Time to love, time to hate, time for war, time for peace. And the message to me is clear. Well, no. Here's the message I get. I can't say it's clear. But the message I get is life is full of up and down, things I like, things I don't like, good, not good, happiness and sadness. I mean, you can't have just one. And the idea that there is a time for everything and a season for everything under heaven, I think it's a worthy thing for us to keep in mind. So, I'll be personal here. Are you going through a season of really sad, disappointing, depressing, unhappy things? Because that's part of life. Okay. Now, for those of us who I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who is like this, but I'm also pretty sure we're not the majority of the world. But some of us we tend to see the negative before we see the positive, or more often see the negative than the positive. And so for people like us, I think sometimes it comes down to it's crummy season. And we sometimes believe a lie. And the lie is, well, I can just say, I sometimes, maybe even often, believe a lie. This is how it's going to be. This is it. This is strap in, because it's not changing. It's always going to be the way it is right now. Well, it's just simply not true. Now, the other side is, because I'd like to say I represent the realist. The truth is, I'm a pessimist. And what I want to be is a recovering pessimist. The optimist, when something difficult is happening, a true optimist, now I'm talking about, this is they should have their picture in the Funkin' Wagnalls dictionary next to the word optimist, right? That's the level they're at. When they're going through that difficult season, what they think is, gosh, there's so many opportunities here. Man, I wish I could do that. And another aspect for a true optimist is, it's a crummy season. It's okay, because it's going to get better. I'd love to be able to siphon some of that positivity off and inject it into my heart and into my mind. Whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, or whether you think you're a realist in the middle, what I am going through right now, it's just a season. Now, not getting stuck in the lie that this is all there is, it's always going to be like this, for the pessimist. And optimists sometimes believe lies too, in that it's not that bad, and tomorrow's a new day, and it's all going to be better. It might not be better tomorrow, but you're right. Tomorrow is a new day. Okay, there's a season for everything. Back to Psalm 1. I don't know who wrote the first Psalm. Maybe somebody does. I don't. I think it'd be very difficult to know, because there's nothing. Well, anyway, this person is like a tree planted by living waters, or not living waters, but by streams of water. See, the living waters, they are in the picture of heaven that John draws. It's like a tree planted by streams of water. It yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. And then there's this last phrase: whatever they do prospers. Really? See, I bet you've come across this. Teachers, preachers, just people who promote the idea that God wants you to be financially prosperous, to be happy, to be always healthy and healed. Okay. I don't even think these are evil people, but I don't think they're right. I think we have to look at, what does prosperity mean? Okay. For the ancient Hebrew, Their the first thing that came to their mind is probably the first thing that comes to most of our minds, and that is a sense of material prosperity. In our world, it would be financial. In their world, you have to remember uh, that there was no standard currency in the day that this psalmist wrote Psalm 1. It was all, usually it was silver would have been the currency, sometimes gold, but most often silver weighed out. And so it wasn't like, I'll give you 3 coins. No, it was, I'll give you this many ounces. And they didn't even think in ounces of silver. Okay, so it wasn't a cash thing. It had to do with their um, resources, material resources. And for most Jews in this day, it had to do with property. Okay. Prosperity was the goal, one of the desires of pretty much every Hebrew. They wanted to be able to provide for their family, and in the most positive Jewish mind, they wanted to provide for people who have needs. There was an altruism there. There was a generosity factor. But the idea of prosperity goes much deeper than that. There is what Paul writes in Philemon. I love the little tiny 1-chapter book of Philemon. And early in that letter, Paul tells Philemon, he is praying for that Philemon's soul would prosper. Okay, there are times when my soul is prospering but doesn't feel prosperous. Here's what I mean by that. One of God's big intentions for all of us is to grow the depth, the resilience, the strength of our soul, and its connection to Him. That's the most important thing. And He does this most often through adversity. I don't feel or sense or see, or whatever word you want to attach to it, the prosperity of my soul while I'm going through the adversity. But when I look back on it, I can see the expansion, the prosperity, the growth within my soul. This is not a promise that, when you meditate on God's law, when you delight in God's law, everything you put your hand to is going to make you money, make you happy, make you healthy. It's just not. There's way too many. I mean, the examples of men and women all through the Old Testament and the New Testament just simply can't support that. In addition to the fact that your and my life experience can't support that. Well, whatever they do prospers. Sometimes it doesn't prosper in the moment. Again, go back to the picture of a tree planted by streams of water. It produces fruit in season. It doesn't produce fruit continually. That's a principle for our lives. Okay, I promise you, I'm gonna move on, and we'll finish this up probably next time. Sorry that I get so bunny trailish. See you next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.